The following is a Furnished Brothers production. Introducing your host, Rob.
Put your best players out there, Mike.
And Ryan.
He missed the net, and it somehow went in.
This is the Talkin Buds podcast.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode 25 of the Talkin Buds podcast. And Ryan, what better way to celebrate our 25th episode than to have you and me in the same room tonight? This is a Talkin Buds first time ever.
Yeah, for people who don't know, this is a legit first time being in the same room, watching the game in the same room, feeding off each other's negativity after watching some of the disgraceful defensive effort that we saw tonight from this hockey team.
That's putting it mildly.
But the quarter century mark for this podcast, and we're coming near the end of the season, man. I can't wait for the playoffs. It's just, man,
we need to get there. I don't disagree.
Yeah,
we need to get there.
These last couple games and the narratives we're drawing up about rest and, quote, the Raptors load management. It's just, let's just get game one going. I'm ready.
Well, you alluded to it earlier, so let's run down this Leafs-Flyers barn burner that we just watched. The Leafs losing 5-4 in their first shootout of the season. We'll run that down in a second, but let's start from the top. Let's take it from the top. So the Leafs come out to start the game in the first period. I thought it was a pretty good start by Leafs standards. Came out skating, had some energy, had some jump. The fourth line was really going. Connor Brown, Ryan.
Connor Brown, finally, some jump out of the guy.
Connor Brown scores the first goal of the evening on a beauty behind the back pass from Tyler Ennis, and it's 1-0, and you're like, okay, here we go. The Leafs scoring the first goal has been a rare thing for them as of late.
Oh, yeah.
So
again, that fourth line, it's like, hey, good. We got some energy from some energy guys. Good start.
100%. Not long after, Nazem Kadri, another guy who hasn't scored in too long, lights the lamp. 2-0 Leafs. Tyler Ennis again creating a scoring chance off his aggressive
that was
forecheck.
big for Naz, too. Naz has got to get off the schneid. We'll talk about Naz later.
So they go into the first intermission up 2-0. Again, like I said, you're feeling good about it, whatever. And then, Ryan, in typical Leafs fashion, they just said, you know what, we're going to take the second period off.
Yeah, we'll bail this one in. We worked pretty hard the first. Let's go out in the second and just show everyone what Toronto Maple Leaf hockey is about. Inconsistency.
It was an absolute turnover fest in the second period. And before you know it, Flyers get on the board, score off the rush. Marty Marinson just, you know what, we've talked about it in the previous weeks. We're trying not to get on Marty Marinson too much because at the end of the day, he's just not good enough and shouldn't be out there, but the coach keeps throwing him out there. He has some sort of bizarre brain cramp, and the Flyers score off the rush. It's 2-1.
Yeah, Marty decides he wants to take his defense partner's man and leave the shooter wide open. And it's short side. Freddy should have had it, I guess, because if it's short side, everyone seems to feel like the goalie should have it. But just, you knew right that when that goal went in, it was like, here we go. Floodgates opened.
So the turnover fest continues. And again, missed assignments, not clearing the puck, guys running around in the defensive zone. Radko Gudas Wires went in from the point.
Yeah,
2-2.
seeing I shot just went right through.
2-2. A horrendous period from the Leafs.
Yeah, dude, that was a garbage period. But how many times have we seen that this year? Like, it's just like it's getting so tiresome. Just always wanting a full 60 minutes out of this hockey team, and it seems like they can't do it for some reason. They just can't do it, and it's just like as soon as Konechny scores that first goal, you're like, here we go.
Well,
here we go.
It didn't stop there, Rye, because Sean Couturier made it 3-2 with 2 minutes left in the second period. Yeah. And we head into the third. The Leafs now trailing after being up 2 to start the second.
Yeah. And I guess when you're going into that period, you're thinking about if they're going to come back on any team, it could be the Flyers, because they're one of the teams that are a worse defensive hockey team than the Maple Leafs. So I had hope going into the third that they'd come back and make it a game, and that's eventually what happened.
Third period starts. The man possessed the franchise, Austin Matthews, end-to-end, all by himself, makes it 3-3.
Yeah, how do you think his game was tonight? Just kind of quiet.
Not as dominant as he's been the last 3 or 4, but not like he was okay.
Yeah, he had flashes, but he wasn't that man possessed that. I mean, it's got to be tough when you know what matchup you have going into the first round and these games left in the season. It's just like everyone's just waiting. I'm sure they're waiting. These games mean nothing, so it's hard to get up for these games. But it's just it's that same storyline over and over again that just gets you concerned, even though these games mean nothing. It's just like, here we go again, not working hard enough.
Leafs were a little more awake and alive in the third period, trading chances back and forth. It's the type of style they love to play, like shinny hockey.
Yeah,
back and forth.
Freddie makes a big
trading
save.
chances.
Yeah. Freddie makes a big save, and they hope they get a neutral zone pass and get that stretch pass they're looking for and get a break and go back and forth. And the Flyers are a hockey team that will kind of allow them to play that style, and we saw that in the third period. That's what the whole game was.
11-minute mark of the third, Hartman scores 4-3 Philadelphia.
Yeah. I thought that was the end right there, I'm going to be honest.
But it wasn't, Ryan, because with 8:20 left in the third, Willie Nylander roofs it, top shelf.
That was a good play by Matthews. Matthews got it on the forecheck. Willie was down there too. That's the first time where both of them were going hard to a puck. And look what happened. The guy threw a pizza up the middle. Matthews took it, and it was over to, and Nylander picked up the loose puck, and he scored finally. We were waiting for Willie to finally get one.
So the 4-4 tie takes us to the end of the game. Pretty exciting overtime, back and forth. Johnny T had a big chance in front of the net. Matthews had a couple good scoring chances. Freddy's making big saves in the Leafs end. But nobody's able to score. And for the first time all season, the Maple Leafs go to the shootout.
Yeah, which is mind-boggling, because the last 2 seasons, it was just they went to so many shootouts. I can't believe that they haven't been to one. I think they're the only team that hadn't been one up until tonight.
First attempt, Claude Giroux, stopped by Freddie Anderson. In a peculiar choice, Mike Babcock throws Tyler Ennis. Don't get me wrong, I love Ennis. Had a pretty good game tonight. Has solidified himself as someone who should be starting night in and night out on the Leafs' fourth line.
Yeah, and he's a skilled player. He probably has some moves.
He starts the shootout for the Maple Leafs, denied by Carter Hart, who Greg Millen, your favorite.
Yeah. 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 Well, how many times did I hear tonight how great Carter Hart was and how he's a good one?
Yeah, he made it abundantly clear that Carter Hart is a future stud.
Yeah.
And he made a nice save there on Tyler Ennis. Voracek, second shooter for Philly, stopped by Freddie Anderson. Mitch Marner, stopped by Carter Hart. Nolan Patrick misses the net. Austin Matthews, stopped by Carter Hart, and we're on to round 4. JVR is the shooter for the Philadelphia Flyers, and you're watching it going, this is it. He's the one that's going to put the Leafs away here. But nope, Freddie makes a big save. And then Ryan, our man, Johnny T.
Yeah. Oh,
Fresh
yeah,
off
it was a tough one.
scoring 4 on Monday night against
Yeah,
the Florida Panthers.
Just flubs it. Just looks like an idiot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a tough game. That's
Poor
that's
Johnny.
embarrassing.
I know. You know what though? If we're gonna
it happens. It's on a blooper reel, but I would have been pretty pissed going back to the bench.
Is that gonna be in the bloopers on Rock'em Sock'em 31?
Oh yeah, 100%.
So he doesn't even get a shot off because it like loses control of the puck, and then Sean Couturier scores. William Nylander misses the net, and the Maple Leafs lose in a shootout. I mean, they get the point with it going into overtime, but yeah, disappointing. I think tonight, Rye. Disappointing. You know, it's as you said earlier. It's just I have a hard time. Like the game wraps up, we got the Sportsnet Central on here, and there's the Bruins beating up on the New York Rangers.
Yeah,
and it's like there's a team that's gearing up for the playoffs that's beating a team that they should be beating, and you got the Leafs tonight who are falling behind to the Philadelphia Flyers, a non-playoff team, because again of mental lapses, not like taking a period off, defensive mistakes, turnovers left, right, and center. Like I don't feel good after a game like that. Like I know I take heat all the time for being Mr. Negative guy, but like how do you somebody explain to me how you're supposed to feel good after losing to a non-playoff team 2 weeks before puck drop of game 1 in Boston?
Yeah, they're just not. You bring up the Bruins, and it's a good thing to bring up because you're right. Like even when you're not watching the game, you're just checking your app where they're at in their game. They're always in it. They'll be down 4-0, and they'll somehow come back and make it 4-4.
They're beating the hell out of the New York Rangers right now, 6-2.
Like
team that the Maple Leafs lost to Saturday night.
They're red hot, and they're arguably the hottest team in the NHL over the past couple weeks.
Since the new year.
And it's just like that's what's so annoying. Like I get the whole Johnny T, 45 goals, all these guys are having great individual years, but it's who we're going up against, and you realize what they are doing to other teams right now and how they're playing going into the playoffs, and it's already blatantly obvious the stylistic matchup between the Bruins and the Maple Leafs. It's just like, like here we go, man. Like it's just hopefully it's a series. Like hopefully it's a series, because some people are like, 4 games. I don't think it's gonna be 4 games, but it's concerning. It's just not putting in a full 60. It's just, why can't we do this?
Well, that's what I wanted to get to. I don't want to talk. We've done enough like dogging Babcock and talking about Kyle Dubas. It's like, let's talk about, because at the end of the day, Babcock's not the one who laces them up and goes over. And I know that there's a contingent of the fan base who just like the players get off scot-free and it's all Mike Babcock's fault. And as anyone who listens to this show knows that you and I are super hard on Mike Babcock, but it's just like, what is it going to take for this collective group of individuals to understand? All you got to do is look around the league and look at all the teams that are considered contenders and look at how they play. And it's like, we're all talking about, sure, they're men in their young 20s, but they're all adult men. They're all smart. Why are you not able to understand that you can't take shifts off? You can't take periods off.
Yeah, not even shifts. Yeah, periods.
Yeah.
Dude, that second period, they got dummied. They maybe had 1 scoring chance that whole period. They're never. At this point, it's like it's almost too late for them to learn anything. Like it's the end of the line.
But why is it so hard? Like, is it lack of like experience? Is it maturity? Is it age? Is it like what is it? Like, I feel like I ask you this question every other episode, because I do ask you it every other episode. Like, at what point? Like what is the problem? Why is it so hard for this group of men to register that like you cannot continue to play this way?
It's pure speculation at this point. It's like we have no idea. Everyone can have a theory that they're too young, they're too tired, they're not tough enough, they don't have a leader, the goalie needs rest. These are all topics that we're coming up with of the reasons why they are a hockey team that can't seem to get it done, and no one really knows at this point. But all we do know is it's pretty obvious watching the games and foreshadowing to that first round that it's just unless they all of a light switch goes off in that first round, it doesn't look good. And I don't know, man. Like they just don't play hard. They don't have that like we talked about the Bruins. The Bruins could be down a couple goals and you can just feel it. You're like, this team's a goal away from getting some serious momentum. But the Leafs, like, it's just Konechny scores that goal to get the Flyers on the board, and it's like, here we go. Like, this team's gonna blow it again. And man, I don't even know at this point. It's a question that cannot be answered. It's just pure speculation on why this team can't get it done. If I had to give my opinion, I just think they're too one-dimensional. Like, they just don't have enough different type of hockey players. Maybe not even toughness. Just all their hockey players are just one note. Just skilled, scoring, speed.
They also seem to lack, like, a spark plug. Like the type of personality.
Like a Brad Marchand.
Yeah, like the type
Like
of
a Brad
personality.
Marchand.
But you know what, though? You'd think, let's get into him right now. You'd think Naz would be that guy. You look, like when I look down the roster and I say, and just judging by these guys and their personalities, who's going to be the one to get the rest of the team fired up? Because if you look at the veterans, okay, you look at Tavares, you look at Marlowe, you look at Riley, you look at Muzzin, like they're all sort of subdued, laid back guys. Like
Yeah.
I don't envision any of those guys standing up in a dressing room,
Tossing a stick in a dressing room.
No, I don't.
Breaking a stick and be like, come on, boys.
And so now, if I had to point someone out about like who I would think would be the one to stand up and do that, I think it would be Naz. But it's like, there's something to be said for the fact that like he got a goal tonight, and hopefully that gets him going. But he hasn't had the greatest year. So,
No.
do you think lack of production would prevent him from standing up in the room and going like, well, my game's not quite there, so I should probably sit here and shut up?
Yeah, I think Naz is a guy like that for sure. Like he seems like a guy who gets extremely rattled if he's been off the board for a long time. And he had that injury that set him back. Coming back from a concussion is not easy. Like, we all know that. But even before the concussion, he still wasn't having the best year ever. And whether that's decreased ice time because of Tavares coming in, or it's losing his buddy Leo, or not having the right guys on his wing. But everyone who's watched Naz during his career knows that he's the only guy on that team right now who has that, like, piss off, the other team hates me ability. Like, no one else on the Maple Leafs have that. So Naz needs to if he is letting that affect him, he needs to let that go once game one puck drop, because to me, he's going to be the biggest. If they're going to beat the Bruins in the first round, he has to be the biggest factor, because he's the only guy who could just get under the skin of all those guys on the Bruins, because Naz could be, let's just say, he could be a bit of a dick when he wants to be, which is a good thing. And we need more of that from him.
Well, it's him doing that. It's Matthews playing his best. It's Anderson playing his best. It's Marner doing what like, everyone needs to be firing on all cylinders, and you can't take periods off.
No. Oh, dude, like, just that first period of that series is going to be a fire drill. Like you'll see the second period tonight, game one, first period against the Bruins. Like, it's going to be a fire drill. And it's just, at the beginning of the year, it was all about the depth. Like, well, we have three of the best centers in the league. Kadri's line's going to be a matchup nightmare because he'll be getting the third pair. And it's just, he has 16 goals. Like, you know, like, it hasn't been there for him this year. And we know that the playoffs are a different animal. So we better hope that that's true. And then once that series starts, that some of these guys can just wipe their memory of what happened in the regular season and start fresh in that series. He'd be like, I can earn my stripes if I just play well in this series and give it my all and give our team a chance to win.
One thing before we move on from this is I don't really like, well, later on when we do the week look ahead, we'll talk about the teams they're playing next week. And I'm kind of, as much as you and I go on about how we're ready for the playoffs to start, I'm kind of happy that they've got 4 tough games next week against playoff teams, because that's going to get them geared up. I don't like the opponents they've played this week. They're playing 3 bad teams this week that open it. That, like, tonight was a game that the Maple Leafs love playing. Like I said earlier, it's shinny. Back and forth, exchanging chances. There's tons of space. There's tons of room. And that's not how it's going to be come playoff time.
And you could make the argument that, like, you look at the Philadelphia Flyers, like the Leafs are just a better version of the Philadelphia Flyers.
A more skilled, talented version.
Exactly. But, like, they're both brutal defensively. They both can score once they get going. The Leafs have better goaltending, but let's see how they go up against the big boys. Because right now it doesn't look too good against the crap of the NHL right now.
Let's talk about William Nylander. He got a big goal tonight. William Nylander is a very, very polarizing individual, Ryan. There is a contingent of the fan base who will just defend him to the bitter end because of his possession statistics.
And his zone entries. Oh, yeah.
And
the calculator boys.
So William Nylander's number since he's come back, 5 goals, 20 assists, 25 points. Not really what you're looking for. And there's been moments in games, to quote your favorite broadcaster, Greg Millen, where he's really been heating up.
Yeah, he's been coming around. He's been coming around for 5 months. I think he'd be here by now if he was really coming around.
What is the deal with William Nylander? Why do you think there's a contingent? Let's start here. Why do you think there's a contingent of the fan base who just fiercely defends the guy? And let's make one thing perfectly clear. Neither one of us hates William Nylander. Both of us like his upside. Both of us see the player that he sometimes is and potentially can always be. Yeah. But the production is just not there night in and night out.
And it's not there for, like, the first couple episodes of this podcast were basically the William Nylander podcast, where we just discussed his contract forever. And when he finally got that deal done, that contract symbolized a guy who needs to contribute offensively. What pisses me off is, even though he has all these zone entries and his possession numbers and he should be playing with Matthews, at the end of the day, I don't care how many zone entries you help your team get in a game. Like, 5 goals is not cutting it. Like, I'm sorry. For a guy who's supposed to be, I know he can make passes, but he's mainly a goal scorer. 5 goals? Or was tonight 6th?
Tonight was his 5th.
Tonight was his 5th. Okay. So even if he had 6, even then, it's like, I don't care how beautiful you look skating through the neutral zone in open space. Like, it just hasn't translated to a lot of offensive opportunities since he's been back. And I get that coming back in the middle of a season's tough, but this is supposed to be an elite hockey player. I'm sure there's other elite hockey players in this league who can miss that amount of time and come back around a lot quicker and contribute offensively a lot more than he has. And it's just, it was good to see him get on the board tonight, because if he didn't, we were going to come on here and just absolutely tear a strip at him. And now it's kind of like, okay, I thought tonight he was pretty good. Like, tonight was actually a decent game for him, but it's just, he's supposed to be your third guy, and it's just, he hasn't been there offensively. But like I said, if he comes out in game 1 and pots 2 and is a big contributor in the playoffs, then we won't care about this. But we don't know that yet. And so far this season, I just don't think offensively he's done much.
Why is there a segment of the fan base that so fiercely defends him, do you think?
I don't know. People get attached to I know this isn't a baseball podcast, but you think back to that Jays playoff team. Like, people get attached to players when like I think he was drafted here. He's a part of the young core that everyone was stoked about. He was part of the Shanna plan, and he's a fancy hockey player. He skates great. He's a good shot. He makes good passes. I just feel like some people are you're either an analytics guy who enjoys his analytic numbers, or you're just someone who's attached to him as a Toronto Maple Leaf and is willing to defend him till the very end. And they have a hard time criticizing him when he's not playing well. But you know what? Zone entries only get you so far in this league.
I think there's a real thing going on amongst Leafs Nation, where you've got the one segment that is like he's soft and needs to be grittier, and then you've got the other segment that's like that's not his game. And I think that's why people clash. But I see both sides of that argument. But the bottom line is he's got 5 goals. Guy's been back since November. 5 goals. There's one word for that.
Pathetic.
Unacceptable. Unacceptable.
Pathetic or unacceptable.
Yeah, pathetic or unacceptable.
Yeah, or crap.
Ryan, there's 2 words for that.
Yeah. And
Ryan, there are people, I can assure you right now, there are people listening to this who are cursing you and me right now by saying that.
That's fine. Like, that cool.
I just don't understand how I just don't understand how you can argue 5 goals. Like I don't understand. Like, I saw a guy tweet me back tonight saying it's bad luck.
If you want to be a hero and call out all these underlying numbers to defend your favorite hockey player that you bought a jersey for, then cool, bud. You do that. You keep lying to yourself. Like, that's a joke. I can't stand it. Like, analytics only means so much. At the end of the day, he's 5 goals.
That's the problem with some people. Not all of them. Just calm down, analytics folk. Calm down. Calm. That's the problem with them, is there is such a thing as the eye test. The numbers matter. They're important. They're definitely important. But he's not... Sure, yes, he got a nice goal tonight, and like we said earlier with Naz, hopefully that gets him going and gets him on a roll. But he doesn't pass the eye test right now.
No. Well, at the end of the day, it's all about your production. At the end of the day, when you're sitting down, I know he just signed his big deal, but at the end of the day, when you're getting judged as a hockey player, how many goals did you have? How many assists did you have? I've never been at a table with an agent and a general manager, and I don't know if they bring up underlying numbers.
They probably do.
But at the end of the day, it's not that important. Like, it's about what did you do at the end of the day? How many goals did you have? And this year, I don't know, like, for a guy who's so offensively dynamic, supposedly, I don't care if you miss time. If you're that skilled and you're that good and you demand to earn that much money, you got to deliver, man. Like, don't give me this zone entry, man. Like, stop. He needs to produce more.
Yeah, I agree.
But, dude, this hockey team is just, you can bring this. Analytics surrounds the conversation of this hockey team 24/7. Like, just look at a guy like Jake Gardiner.
Well, the Clark Kent, their general manager, he's built a team off analytics.
Exactly. And it's just like now, whenever you have a discussion within Leafs Nation, or you turn on a radio station and you want to digest some content, everything revolves around, yeah, well, he's not as bad as his numbers, you know? Like, their possession numbers while he's on the ice are phenomenal. Like, he could have 10 goals, but possession numbers, they're beautiful. And the general manager, like you said, also believes in that as well. So that's where this whole thing gets like, what are we doing here? Are we judging the hockey team off guys who legit produce? Like, Brad Marchand has 95 points. Like, I don't care what his possession numbers are. Give me the guy with the 95 points. Don't give me the guy with the good underlying numbers.
Well, this is where the analytics community and the non-analytics community bump heads.
Yeah, and this city's just full of analytical conversation now. It's great.
Because that is the team that Kyle Dubas, my new nickname for him is Clark Kent. Somebody said that to me the other day, and I laughed so hard at it. I love you, Kyle Dubas, but from now on, you're known as Clark Kent.
It's not the worst thing to be called.
No, it could be worse. It's Superman.
Yeah, it could be worse. Doesn't have as good as hair, but
we'll never go in on Dubas as much as we go in on good pro.
Good pro.
Does
it well each and every day. Good pro in the gym.
Always squatting.
Elite drivetrain.
What does that even mean? What's a drivetrain?
Your drive and your internal drive and how much you train.
We should break down like every single Babcockism and try to actually understand what the hell this man is saying half the time, because it's not even English. It's Don Cherry language.
How's it going, everybody? Thank you very much for downloading the show. If you want to interact with us further, you can follow us on Instagram at Talkin Buds Podcast, on Twitter at Talkin Buds Pod. You can download the show on iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, and YouTube. Spread the word. Tell your friends. Join the Talkin Buds fan club. We really appreciate it.
Now, let's get back to the Toronto Maple Leaf podcast for all the buds. This is the Talking Buds Podcast.
All right, Rye, let's keep this train moving here. Let's talk a little bit about the goalie. So, all season long, we talked a lot about how Freddy Anderson should be in the Vezina conversation. And in past seasons, he's always had about a month where he hasn't been himself and hasn't played that well, and that hasn't happened this year. Well, in the last 3 weeks or so, our man Fred has come crashing back down to earth.
Yeah, that Vezina talk now is a tough sell when you look at his numbers compared to some other dudes.
So the first place we have to go with this is, does he need rest? That is a huge topic right now. How many more games should Freddy play? They've got 5 games left. How many should he play? 2 of the 5? Should he play 3 of the... First of all, before we get into that, do you buy the whole Fred is tired and needs rest argument?
I just don't get how you can like quantify how resting him now is going to somehow benefit him in like a 6th game of a series. Like you don't, like, how do you know, like I feel like you might as well rest him because these games mean nothing anyway. So it's like, if you really want to rest him and your sports science department is pushing for that and they think it's a good idea because they know more than we do, then do it. But another conversation is Babcock. Does he want to do it? Because he doesn't want to look at Garrett Sparks anymore in the net. I guarantee you that.
No, he definitely does not want to look at Garrett Sparks.
No. But it's just, I have a hard time. Like, in my opinion, just rest him. Like, why? Like, what's the worst that could happen? Like, even with him in the net, you're not even playing that well right now.
Well, they've got some big games next week, and I definitely think it would be beneficial to have him in those games, but not all of them. Like, Saturday night, they're playing Ottawa. Yeah. Garrett Sparks should get the start in that game. A, to redeem himself for the awful showing in Ottawa he had 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And B, it's Ottawa.
Yeah, exactly. Dude, all these, like, I would like to see him start that Islander game. I want to see them kind of get a little, like, that's one game you should be able to get up for after that most embarrassing game of the season.
It's in Long Island.
Yeah, like, that was an embarrassing hockey
This
game.
time it's at Barclays, not at the Forum.
So it won't, but, like, people love hopping on, like, it doesn't matter where you are. Like, if you're anywhere around any Islanders fans, like, they're going to hop on that Boo Tavares train. Like, it's, I don't know. If rest, it's just, to me, like, I don't know what they're all about, the sports science, and they got everything on lockdown in terms of information of like how much sleep you need or how much you need to eat, your nutrition, your shift time, your practice time. So if they're all about resting Freddy and that's the advice they're giving, then I suggest they do that. But if it's them trying to gain momentum going in and getting some good games under their belt, then they probably have a better chance of doing that with Freddy in the net than Garrett, I flop around like a complete idiot Sparks whenever I get a start.
Well, you know what? Usually we save the week look ahead till the end of the show, but it suits our conversation we're having right now. So let's go through and examine who we would start in which game. So we already said Saturday night in Ottawa. That's a Garrett Sparks game. Monday night, we just said.
Okay, so we got Sparks in against the Sens.
Sparks in against the Sens on Saturday night.
All
Monday.
Right. I'm with you on that.
Monday in Long Island. Freddie Anderson.
Yeah, that's the one game where I'm like, and they played Tampa again, right?
Well, no, that also makes sense here. We'll get to it. That also makes sense because they play again on Tuesday at home against Carolina.
Okay.
So start Freddie Monday against the Islanders.
Yeah. Sparks.
Tuesday against the Hurricanes.
Yeah.
Thursday, they play the Tampa Bay Lightning at home.
I'd give Freddie that game.
Well,
Dude, if they put Garrett Sparks in again, I just want to do that for self-confidence because that could be a 10 spot. If that could be double digits if Garrett Sparks is trying to stop an Nikita Kucherov one-timer all night.
I agree. And then Saturday, so a week Saturday in Montreal.
Start Sparks.
Yeah, I
but
agree.
Who knows? Is it up to the coach? Is it up to the general manager? Is it up to the science department? Like, we don't know.
I feel like you start with the player and do the whole, how are you feeling? And obviously, he's going to be a hero.
Yeah, is he going to pull
and be like, I'm fine.
Yeah, is he going to pull the hockey
then you
hero
go,
move?
That's when, if you're Babcock, you defer to the sports science team.
Yeah.
You defer to the training staff. You defer to his goalie coach. And you just ask, what do you think we should do here? But honestly, the way we just mapped it out is how I think they should go.
Yeah, like
2 most important games, 5 games, 2 most important games left. Islanders, Lightning. Freddie starts both those games. And then the other 3, you can put Sparks in there. All right, let's move into something else here before we do our weekly Bums and Beauties. You went off last week about the power play. And it hasn't gotten any better. And we spend our whole life talking about things that they're going to need to improve on going into Boston. And I feel like their power play has been pretty bad all year. Like, this is when we do our year-end review and like positives and negatives, the power play's got to be right at the top of the list of disappointment / negatives.
Yeah, and it's interesting because there's still a top 10 power play in the NHL. So for someone on the outside, it's like, what are you guys talking about? Like,
it just doesn't look right.
They got a great power play.
It doesn't
they're a top
look
10
good.
in the league, but considering all the talent they have on there, it's like that's where Tampa Bay kills you. Like, if you take 3 penalties against the Lightning, like 1 or 2 of those is going in the net, like no matter what. So if Brad Marchand's an idiot or Chara's an idiot and they take a dumb penalty in that series, like those power plays are going to be big for them. And I outlined it that it drives me nuts how Marner and Matthews, they need to switch sides because of the way they shoot. I want them going on their forehand, going towards the middle of the ice so they can get a quick shot off, instead of doing the whole loop-de-loop trying to get on my forehand. But it's not even the fact that it's like the dad line. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed because
that's the perfect way to put it.
Yeah, it's just
that's a brilliant way of putting it.
They're so talented, and I get that they still have a top 10 power play, and that's great. But you know how good they are. You know how skilled they are. They should be putting away hockey teams every single time they get a power play. But another issue with that too is they don't draw a lot of penalties, because what we always talk about is they don't work hard enough. So that's also an issue too.
Soft circle hockey.
You don't draw enough penalties, and when you get them, you don't capitalize. So
they also give up a ton of shorthanded scoring chances.
Yeah, like that's a recipe. Yeah, they don't work on the power play either. When they lose the puck, they don't work to get it back. And having the one guy on the point, just Riley, like it's pretty easy to get the puck out too.
Well, this brings us back full circle. Not to cut you off, but like this just brings us back full circle to what we were talking about in the first part of the show. you just said they don't work to get the puck back. We're talking about work ethic in the first part of the show. Why? Why is the work ethic struggling? Is it coaching?
Well, the power play, I feel like everyone's just kind of like.
Well, no, they want it. The problem is they're just a skilled. Not the problem. Sorry, let me rephrase that. They're just all skilled guys. So it's like they're all too busy instead of just being like. And I think this is where I think maturity is a huge part of this. Like Tampa's a seasoned, mature team that's gotten eliminated year after year after year, and they're tired of getting eliminated. So you know what? They don't care anymore. They'll do whatever it takes. They don't need to do little passes, little cute snapshots, top shelf, little like between the leg passes, like skating in, setting up no look passes. They don't care about that. They'll do whatever they can just to bury you to get the W because that gets them closer to that cup.
Yeah.
And that's the difference, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it's just they don't really work on the power play to get the puck back because it's just like that's just the nature of being a man up. It's just kind of like, oh, we'll get the puck back. They're like, but it's kind of scary sometimes. Like, I'm sure there'll be a shorthanded goal by the Bruins in that series from them not working.
100%.
It's going to come back and bite them.
100%.
But it's just all these factors that we bring up, like capitalizing on the power play. That's going to matter in a playoff series. Like working to get the puck back. That's going to matter. Freddie Anderson making a big save. That's going to matter. Like it's all these things that we have issues with that are just, it's just what we're looking at to be like, they need to do that in order to win a series against a good hockey team like the Bruins or the Capitals or the Lightning or the Penguins, whoever they play at any point. And like, I feel like we're just like super negative on this episode.
We are. This is well, it's because I think both of us are just tired. Like we're just tired. Like what's tonight? Game 77?
Yeah.
And we're still talking about how they don't show up for 60 minutes.
Yeah. So
it's like we can talk about like power play and possession and like again, you could also argue that through 25 episodes, this has been the Chirp Mike Babcock podcast.
Yeah.
But like, you're the ones that have to go out there and play hard for 60 minutes. He doesn't lace him up and go over the boards. You guys do. And it's just like, that's why I think we're more negative. And again, it's like I said earlier, the Bruins went out and played a non-playoff team tonight.
A team that the Leafs lost in overtime to.
And beat the hell out of them.
Yeah.
The Maple Leafs went out and played a non-playoff team tonight, lost in a shootout.
And showed up for one period, a period and a half.
Blew a 2-goal lead, and we're trailing them twice.
Yeah. Dude, that's just everything in a nutshell right there.
There are 2 words for that, Ryan. Unacceptable.
And pathetic. Yeah. No, dude, it's just...
And we just say that because, like... We just know that they're like when you watch them, like the way they played against Buffalo last week and just relentless on the puck all game long. It's like, you guys can do it. You can do it. And you know why they played that way? Because they got embarrassed for a week. And so they said, you know what? We need to get our you-know-what together and go out and win a game here.
And they caught a crappy team, too.
Right, but it's honestly, I know that the Sabres aren't a good team, but that is the recipe for success for the Leafs. That's how they need to play to win. And it's just, again, tonight, it's just like we're sitting here watching the second period, and it's like, yeah, it's like you're like at the halfway mark, and you're just like, I've seen this movie. Like they're just gonna mail it in for the rest of this period, and then Babs is gonna go in and light them up, and then they're gonna come out, and I'm sure they'll be a little better to start to third, and then it's flip of the coin if they're going to win or not.
Yeah, they were playing a crappy enough team tonight to actually get some defensive lapses out of the Flyers in order for them to come back and tie that hockey game.
Exactly. So apologies to Leafs Nation and Talkin Buds listeners for being the negative guys tonight, but it's just like, are you not tired of this, folks? Like, are you not tired of watching this pretty much night in and night out? Because I sure am, and it doesn't make me feel very good for game 1 puck drop 2 weeks from tonight.
No. Positive, though, Johnny T, 45.
Johnny T, 45 Gs. 50 is within reach.
Yeah, I don't
know.
know.
He's got 5 games left.
He's not going to get 50, but he came over. He left the island, signed for a big deal. He's come. He's got 45 Genos. I'm pretty sure he's tied with his career high points right now.
Is a
86.
beauty. Is everything you want.
So it's not. There's a lot of free agents that have signed in this league who've gone to hockey. David Clarkson, Milan Lucic, Andrew Ladd, Louis Eriksson, bunch of bums who've done nothing. Like you put this guy on a big ticket. He showed up. You know what? Regardless of what, maybe you think he needs to work a little bit harder, but 45 Genos at the end of the day, like that's a positive for this hockey team. And the first guy to get over 41 since Sundin in 02-01, like
Morgan Riley, 70 points.
70 points. Marner, 90 points. Tonight, Matthews hit a career high in personal points and 7. I think he's got 71 now.
And he's probably he's on his way to 40 goals.
Yeah. So for a guy who's missed a lot of time,
you look at the trifecta. Sorry, folks, I don't consider William Nylander in the trifecta anymore now that Johnny T is here. Johnny T on the brink of 50 goals. Mitch Marner on the brink of 100 points.
Yeah.
Austin Matthews on the brink of 40 goals.
You think any of them are getting to the landmark that they're looking for? I don't think there's enough time.
I could see Marner
left.
getting to hundo.
Yeah? Nah. I don't think any of them are gonna get there.
We were talking about this during the game. Like, if I'm Mitch Marner's agent, I'm sitting down across from Clark Kent and go, like, when they're negotiating, I'm sitting down across from Kyle Dubas and going, I'm really looking forward to hearing your reasoning as to why my client should be paid less than Austin Matthews. You know what? You go first, Kyle. You go first. I'm really looking forward to hearing this. That's what I would say.
It would be, I want to be a fly on the wall during that negotiation because the typical wisdom is he's not a center iceman. He wasn't a first overall pick. Goal scoring's at a premium in the National Hockey League, but we said it tonight, like, there is no more dangerous Maple Leaf on the ice night in almost every single game this season. Like, this guy is always their most dangerous offensive player.
A night in and night out.
And it's not even, it's shift by shift. There's no one better than him. And I don't think it's really even close at this point. Like, I know Austin Matthews is a stud. Like, the guy's 35 goals in a season. He's missed 15 games.
I'd open, if I'm Mitch Marner's agent, I'd have like a little file folder. I'd open it up. I'd take out an autographed photo of Zach Hyman and I'd shove it across the table at Clark and I'd go, this is an autographed photo from Zach Hyman, 20-goal scorer.
Yeah, a guy who we dogged.
Yeah, a guy
being
who,
on Matthews' line.
Yeah,
we dogged him.
Yeah,
it looks like they're a good pairing now.
A guy who took nothing but heat when he was on your highest paid centerman's line, but when he's on my line, my client's line, he's a 20-goal scorer.
Yeah, he's an absolute stud, and I not once this year have I been like, oh, Zach Hyman, he's an anchor out there. He stinks.
He's such an important piece.
Yeah, he's great on that line, and he's looked like a better offensive player being on that line, and that's all because of 16. Like, he makes, look at John Tavares, career high in points, goals. Why? Mitch Marner. It's not Matt Molson or Kyle Okposo. He's finally playing with an offensive dynamo, Mitch Marner, dude. Like, this guy, if I was his agent, I would look at Kyle and be like, give me the exact same number as Austin Matthews.
If ahead of game 1, Ryan, I'm looking at you and I'm saying, at the 77 game mark, Zach Hyman has 4 more goals than Nazem Kadri. You would have said,
not a chance. Yeah, no, like, really, like, after you've watched the whole season, you're like, oh, I'm not surprised. But at the beginning of the year, if you really think back, you're like, not a chance that would happen, because Nazem back-to-back 30, and I thought Nazem would have taken a step back for sure this season, because it just, I don't know. It just felt like he was going to take a step back because of his decreased role from Johnny T showing up. But at the beginning of the year, like, you would have been like, nah, not a chance. Nazem's getting at least 20, like, for sure. He's the third pairing nightmare, that matchup nightmare. Been nowhere on the score sheet this season.
All right, Ryan, I think it's time to move in to the first ever live and in-person Bums and Beauties.
It's time to find out who's a bum and who's a beauty. Take it away, buds.
That's right, it is the first ever live and in-person Bums and Beauties. Ryan, I'm going to go first. We have spent the majority of this show being negative, so let's start with a positive. My beauty of the week. And I know he didn't really have his best game tonight, but my beauty of the week is Ron Hainsey.
Wow, Ronnie Hainsey, you're just pissing everyone off tonight.
Well, he jumped. Well, I'm sorry. The him jumping into Johnny T's aid on Monday night.
Yeah,
was
move. And he did that earlier in the season when Riley got ran over by one of the Bruin players and he dropped his mitts. Like, Ron's not intimidating, but at least he's a man.
And then the little punk ass kid on the Panthers, Howerluck, is just giving it to him in the penalty box, and Ronald Hainsey's just sitting there sipping his water, not a care in the world.
Doesn't care one bit.
Howerluck got 2 goals. Did you see the chirp where
Naz was
Naz
career
is like,
high,
good
bud.
for you, career high.
Yeah, let's see more of that from Naz. Do that, but dial it up like 1,000.
Yeah. So yes, I know tonight wasn't his best game, and I acknowledge that, but Ron Hainsey, because for anyone being standing up for a star, Ron Hainsey jumping in to the aid of Johnny T on Monday, beauty of the week. Ryan, who's your beauty of the week?
All right, I think my beauty of the week, I think I'm going to go with, you know what? The only problem with doing the beauty of the week, it's like, how many times can I pick Morgan Riley? Like, how many times can I pick Johnny T? So I'll kind of base it off tonight, and I'll finally, for the first time this season, give Connor Brown a positive review.
Wow.
You know what? I've dogged the guy all year.
We have, dude. I've crushed Connor Brown.
He seems like
show in and show out.
A really good dude, like off the ice. Seems like a chill guy. Kind of got the whole ginger joke probably with him. But I thought tonight was his best game I've seen from him in a long time. He was skating. He was on the 4th line, so like really his minutes were a little lower.
And he was a beneficiary of Tyler Ennis.
Yeah, so this pick is just me strictly avoiding the same picks over and over and over again, and I'll just give Connor Brown a little bit of a nugget for this beauty of the week selection because he finally got off the schneid. And I think he's been working hard. It's just for some reason for a guy who's supposed to have some offensive upside, a guy who scored 20 goals not too long ago, offense looks like a chore to him. Like he looks like Freddy the Goat sometimes when he's trying to put the puck in the net. So it's nice to see him kind of hit a level offensively tonight and finally get off the schneid. So I'll throw him, not my beauty of the week, I'll throw my beauty of the game / week, Connor Brown.
Okay, bum of the week. I want to think of someone who we haven't yet discussed. We could take the low-hanging fruit, Ryan, and say Marty Marinson.
Nah, again, I can't do it to Marty
It's
anymore.
just like I'm at the point where like we always say, we're like, I don't even gripe about Marinson anymore because he just shouldn't be out there.
No, he's just not good
if you want
enough.
to get mad about if you want to get mad at Marty Marinson, get mad at Babcock for continuously sticking him out there.
Yeah, I'll go first. My bum of the week is Garrett Sparks.
No.
And not for anything he did in a game, just the fact that you've been so bad. And I feel like the whole Garrett Sparks thing kind of stems back from Dubas looking at Babs being like, I'm getting rid of the vet and you're taking the guy who won me a Calder Cup. But given his performance this season, there's not been one game where you've been like, this guy's been unreal tonight. Like Curtis McElhinney, I don't think he is anything wonderful either. But you know what? The guy won them some big games when he was here. I just think Garrett Sparks, every game he's been in this season, has been pretty brutal. And I'm kind of looking back over the whole season. It's just, he's been like, never once was I like,
was too bad against Buffalo last week.
Yeah, but I don't. The Sabres are the worst team in the National Hockey League, though. They're worse than the Senators. Ever since their 10-game winning streak, they're the worst team in the National Hockey League. Good for you. You beat the Sabres. Other than that, like, he just is so out of position all the time. And for a guy who's like, it's just, I get the decision. He's the younger guy, but at some point, I get it's tough being a backup. You don't get your regular reps, but you got the Stones to come out and call it your hockey team, which I didn't mind because it was the truth. Whether it was right coming from him, whatever, but it was the truth. But at the same time, it's like, bro, like, you gotta back it up at some point. Like, you've been brutal all year, and the coach, Freddie Anderson, won't even get any rest other than a back-to-back because the coach is just, you can't trust the guy. Just hates what these games mean nothing. Hates him so much that he won't even put him in. He stinks that much. I do think he like stinks. Like, he looks bad, and I usually stick up for goaltenders because I think it's the hardest position in all sports. But it's like he's been brutal pretty much every single start he's had this season. So he's kind of one of my bums of the year.
So for mine, I want to preface it by saying that, like, I'm not dumping on the guy because I don't think he's been awful. But I do think, just given the position that he's in, that Andreas Janssen does need to pick it up a little bit right now. He's playing on the second line with Matthews and Nylander. And it's like we talked about earlier with Nylander. The production's got it. When you're in that top 6 role, the production's got to be there. And it's not there for Janssen right now. And not there as much as it should be. As much as and again, I want to preface it by saying I don't think he stinks right now. Like, but he also is not where I'd like him to be right now. So I'm picking Janssen just because we said that we're not allowed to pick Marty Marinson because that's just too obvious of a choice.
Yeah, I just think with Janssen, it's like, this is a guy like we wanted to, like, we were gonna trade him for a defenseman. I was like, no, this guy, we need this guy.
Well, the same thing can be said with Kapanen.
He's an upcoming winger. We need players like this, and it's just like they get hot. They're really fast. They look great. But then they hit this lull where you're just like, maybe they're
still young, though. They're still like
it's not that, like, these guys they're in like they're like low. They're not 18-year-olds. Like, they're kind of like, I'm pretty sure Janssen's like 23. Like, it's like these guys aren't that young. I know they're young to the league, but it's just the fact that we put these guys on a pedestal whenever they show like some speed or they start scoring some goals, and it's like, maybe Janssen and Kapanen like they're not as bad as, like, maybe they're not bad, but they're not as good as we tout them to be sometimes. And we expect a lot out of them, and they don't always, like, you watch tonight and it's like, Janssen, that line was okay, but like, he didn't really do anything. Like,
I'd happen to agree with you on that. All right, well, I think that will wrap up episode 25 and our first ever in-person episode. So let's actually make this decision on the air right now. So for episode 26, are we going to do it Tuesday night after the Hurricanes game, or are we going to wait and do it Thursday after the Lightning game?
Well, yeah, it's, I don't know. I say just after the Tuesday game.
Yeah.
Just after the Tuesday game.
Tee it up.
Yeah. That way, like, you know, when it comes out on Friday, you know, people everyone.
Yeah, people aren't listening.
Yeah, it's Friday.
It's the weekend.
You know?
Yeah.
Your release radar comes out on your Spotify.
That's true.
So it's like, you want to listen to the new music,
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, you're right.
So it's the end of the season.
It's release radar day.
Yeah. So let's go with the Tuesday after the Hurricanes.
So you heard it there, folks. We'll be coming at you next Tuesday after the game at home against the Carolina Hurricanes. Thank you, everybody, for downloading, and we will see you then.